So, all right, well, here we go again. We've got two more presenters, and then, after we're done speaking, we are going to all sit on stage, and it will become your turn to ask us questions. We're very excited about that. We're very excited to hear your thoughts and your opinions and your concerns and your criticisms and all the rest of it. And we're very, very happy to do that. But right now, I'm very excited to introduce one of our product managers from Envato. Jono is going to come and present. He is a product manager in what we call the complex space. And the complex space for us is graphic templates, video templates, and WordPress and code items. So he's going to come and share some insights on the anatomy of a trend. Jono?
Alright. Thanks for coming, everyone. It's great to be in Yogyakarta. It's my first time here, and such a great community. You're all so welcoming, and love to see all your friendly faces. So thanks for coming. Today, my presentation is going to be about examining a trend, so a certain trend in particular, and that trend is flat illustration. Maybe you might know more about it than I do, but we'll find out. So the presentation today and the content will hopefully provide you with an insight into the trend of flat illustration. And the focus areas will be how the trend evolved, what it is, what it's used for, some examples, the possible future of the trend, how to recognize other possible trends, and how to capitalize on the trend. So this is me. My name is Jonathan. As James said, I am a product manager at Envato. I've been at Envato for 3 years. One of those years was spent as a designer in the UX team. So like many of you here, I come from a design background of around 8 years. So my background in design helps me think about the best solutions for the business, but also for the customers and authors, because I'm coming from a lens of user research and user focus. So I've had some help in this presentation. This is Kate. I'm not sure if any of you know Kate or have had an email from Kate. Yes. So Kate is our design and illustration specialist at Envato. She's been here for in Melbourne, for a long time, approximately 10 years. So she has seen Envato grow. She's seen the good and the bad and everything involved. And she also has a background in communication design. Okay, so let's get into the trend. How did it all start? So, as some of you might know, there was an increasing demand for illustration and graphic content in organisations around the world. Designers were put under a lot of pressure to create a lot of content and collateral very quickly, so in short time frames. So this placed a lot of pressure on these designers, which resulted in some burnouts, which means designers getting tired, maybe getting lazy, and taking shortcuts. So this problem had to be solved because we can't have designers burning out. That's not healthy. Perhaps there was a more efficient way to create this content. So with every problem, an opportunity is born. Possibly there was a more efficient way of generating illustrative content to meet the demands of these clients that you have and also organizations. So internal teams. Possible solution to this is flat illustration. Excuse me. So flat illustration is focused on evoking positive emotions and connectedness. It is used to convey relatable, everyday narratives using simple shapes, flattened perspective, and minimal line work. So these basic principles make it easy to quickly create beautiful artwork. Why is it so bendy? So creating illustrations, as we know, can be a difficult thing and time-consuming. We all put a lot of effort into it. I'm sure you all do. It's easier to draw and create characters with bendy arms and minimal facial expressions compared to cartoons and complex illustrations. So the structure of the bendiness keeps the art simple, fun, and interesting. Let's look at some examples. I might have some content from authors in this room, I'm not entirely sure, but I've pulled some things from different parts of our products. So, let's look at some examples. When we think of flat illustration and what I've just told you about the characteristics of flat illustration, do you think this is a good example of a flat illustration? Yeah? Does anyone want to call out a reason why? Colours? Yeah, cool. So, you're correct. It's a good example. The reasons why is because it appears to have a diverse arrangement of nationalities in the image. Has humanising elements, so like the wave of the flag, the dog in the basket, brings a bit of life to the image. There's an implied sense of teamwork, so the characters are looking at each other. They're involved in the image, they're involved in what they're doing, and the viewer can understand that. And it also has a lot of characteristics of the shapes and simple lines of flat illustration. So what about this example? Do we think this is a good example or not so good example?
Not so good.
Too plain? Yeah, could be. So Kate and I tend to agree. This is not as good as example as the previous one. Some of the reasons why is the figures look sort of frozen. There's not much movement in the image, right? So a viewer would like to see the characters on screen, a bit of movement, a bit of personality to it. There's lots of reused sort of elements within this as well. As you can see, the legs are all positioned in the same way. So as designers, we know it's important to make sure that our content and our illustration has intricate features and enough to create interest for the viewer. The figures also, the characters, don't look like they're particularly enjoying themselves. There's no emotion there. As you can see, there's sort of similar facial expressions, and it's lacking that emotion. So, let's look at the past and sort of current state of flat illustration. You're probably all aware, in some of the big organisations around the world and big tech companies, they've all used flat illustrations on their homepages and throughout their digital products. As you can see, Airtable, big company. There was almost a, how would you put this, a certain way, a certain checklist for how you created this content. Position your text on one side, throw an image on the other, and you've basically got a landing page that looks like everyone else's. So, another big one as well from Slack. So let's look at the present. So recently the trend has evolved and there is more of a focus on experience illustrations. So experience illustrations are those types of illustrations that help convey context to a certain scenario. So when you think about using your mobile application and you're making a payment, so you might have an illustration that shows a character making a payment, so the user can understand what to do in this certain scenario. A really good example of this, I'm not sure if you have all seen this reference, but Icons 8, which you might be aware of, have a resource called Ouch. So on Ouch, you can go there, you can download a series of illustrations that are suited to the common scenarios that you see in digital products. So things like logins, error states, payments, etc. There's also Humans. So Humans is a great and flexible tool where you can create a single illustration to use in a piece of collateral, whether it's a flyer or some other marketing collateral. Or you can create an entire suite of illustrations from the tool itself. So you can make a series of different illustrations conveying different scenarios that help support your product. So the future. Like all trends, they tend to evolve and they change over time. So the possible future of a trend of flat illustration, and illustration perhaps in general, is it will continue to draw influences from different styles across different eras. So companies are looking for ways to stand out from each other, right? As you saw before, a lot of those illustrations in those landing pages looked very similar. So when you need to find a way to separate yourself from the competition. So the reference on the left is from MailChimp. It's part of their latest illustration style that they've incorporated across their products. So it still has the simplicity of the flat illustrations we saw before, but it helps them separate themselves from all those competitors. So you notice that will be a MailChimp product or a MailChimp ad because of that certain style. Another part of this and part of the future is library, so illustration libraries. As I said before, that demand for content and illustrated content to be created fast means that teams need ways to create illustrations quickly. So when you think of a good reference for this is a suite of icons, right? So at certain times you use one icon. In other occasions you might use the whole suite within a digital product. So what you do with an illustration is create a library. So you can take different illustrations from that library and apply it to what parts of your product that you need to. So this is where we see the future of this trend going, is that flexibility and those options that you give to your customers. So let's have a look at how to recognize a trend. So Sarah's presentation was obviously really informative and fantastic and detailed, which is a great presenter. I'm going to pull out a little bit and talk about trends in a more general sense and how to recognize them. We know it's not easy, as Sarah touched on, but keep in mind when you're creating your items, have a look at what's happening in the industry and content across different big brands and digital products out there. And even if your items tend to be similar, that's okay. Put your unique style into them, and that may end up being a big influence on the trend going forward. So think about how to make your folio stand out as well. So how can I attract the customers, clients that I want to from the artwork that I have? Don't copy everything exactly. As I said, think of your own spin, your own way that you can market to those particular customers and their problems. Experiment with new techniques. So make sure you're constantly learning. Pick up new tools. look at different websites, different resources, and find out what's happening in the industry. New skills as well. So you think of an item type like a video template, which is created in After Effects. A lot of those elements actually play on and use traditional graphic design elements as well, right? So maybe pick up a new tool like After Effects and have a play with it, learn some skills, because it may impact how you make content in the future. So we might look a little bit at how to capitalize on trends, so take advantage of them. Know your strengths and weaknesses and work with them, but also push yourself a little bit to create new content and content that challenges your own abilities. Make sure to describe your items, how you think customers might be searching for them as well. So put yourself in their shoes, come into Envato, come into Elements, and try to navigate and find content that they want. Think about that, and then think about how you can translate that into your item descriptions and metadata. The other thing is, don't rush too much. Take your time. Make sure that you go through your process properly, and you consider all the things you need to make sure that your content is as good as it can be. Self-promote. So try and push yourself out there to communities like this. Talk to lots of different designers. Create profiles on different accounts like Dribbble and Twitter and everything. Just push yourself out there. Try and drive more traffic back to your items. And make sure you plan for when the trend might start to change again, when it might decline, or when it might rise. So part of that is to create a diverse amount of content in your portfolio and not just trend-focused content. You want things to be original and different and authentic, and I think the community here represents all of those things. And Jogja and Indonesian authors have that inbuilt in them, in your soul. So make sure you have a diverse content offering and be authentic. And on that note, that's it. Done. Thank you.
You waiting for your question?
Hit me.
All right. Well, so you talked about this as a trend, and one of the things we wanted to do with everybody here was not just present a single trend, but really talk about the principles that all authors can take on board as they consider trends and they consider things.
Yep.
And when you take that alongside what Sarah presented, how do you think authors can best position themselves with trends like this for the future? Is there any sort of specific tips or anything on what's coming that we might want to think about?
I think I touched on it a little bit. Make sure that you look at all the resources out there, as I said, Dribbble, all those different inspiration websites, and see what other creatives around the world are doing, not just within your community. So explore that. I guess another part of it would be to not sure. What was the second part of that question again?
I guess the other part of that question was looking at Dribbble, and that is good for sort of seeing what trends are coming, but how can they take the principles that you've talked about today and apply it to those trends?
Yeah, so I guess another part which I touched on is make sure that you have your own spin on it, your own authentic take on a trend. So you don't want to just copy it, because lots of people do that, right? You see lots of websites that copy your artwork and make slight variations, but it's basically the same. You want to make your stuff different, do different things as well, use different processes, different tools, so that it's harder for people to copy your items. Give it your own authentic kind of take.
I think that's really the piece that I was after is that one of the things we can do is we can tell you what other people are doing. But how exciting would it be for us to come next year and talk about how the trends that you're creating, the designs and the creativity and the authenticity that you're bringing are now the trend that everybody else is taking and using. Right?
Yeah.
So remember that your story, your authentic experience, your creativity, your uniqueness, all of those things can help create trends that don't exist anywhere else. And we're really excited to be able to see that show up here. Like, who would have thought a year or two ago that illustration like this would have been all the rage, right? And it plays right into your skill set. Cool. Thank you, Jana.
Thanks, everyone.
Doing a little bit of a mic swap here. Where's the clicker thing? How's everybody doing? You having a good time? I'm gonna flick through this and say, oh, hey, it's my turn. I'm going to come and talk to you now, but before I do that, I need to make a couple of adjustments.
President.
Get ready. Hi. I'm James from from Envato. You might remember me from such things as the earnings emails that you get.
Rejected. Your email.
Bisa. Hah? Gue mau mundur.
You might. Do I send you rejection emails too? Oh dear. I'll have to talk to somebody about that. Well, I am so extremely excited to be here. We have been so eager to come to Indonesia for a very, very long time. We've been so excited to eat your food. Oh my goodness. I love nasi goreng.
Nasi goreng.
So good. Well, every time we do an event like this, the thing that I am reminded of is just the quality and the excellence and the skill that each of you brings to your craft. And make no mistake, you are wonderfully gifted craftspeople. You are artists. You are creators. You are influencers all around the world. I was telling a couple of people, I think last night or in one of our car rides over, that people do not realize here in Indonesia how much they influence the rest of the world. The illustration